Kendrick Lamar's GNX has been out for more than a month now, which I think makes it high time to officially add it to my sample breakdown series and break down all of its samples. And now I'll admit, this record has by far the least amount of samples to go over in this entire series so far, but even with such a low sample pool, there are still some really cool flips on the record that I think are worth checking out. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, of course, and let's just get started with track number 1. Actually, I just completely lied to you. We're not actually going to be starting with track number 1. Whacked Out Murals, the opening, actually has no listed samples, so we're just going to skip past it and move on to track number 2, Squabble Up. So Squabble Up only has one sample, being from the 1983 Debbie Deb track, When I Hear Music. Obviously, there's the direct vocal sample about 20 seconds in, but the entire instrumental makes use of the original song, which you can especially hear in the wobbly bass sound that's present. Very cool choice, I think. The track is perfectly flipped into a West Coast G-Funk style banger. Although, funnily enough, it reminds me of this one track that I've been listening to a lot by, this recording artist called Fava. Came out kind of recently. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, though. Okay, that bit of self-promo was very shameless. Moving on. Onto the surprise biggest hit of GNX, that of course being Luther with SZA, and it's got probably the most on-the-nose flip of the entire album. Hell, the track is literally named after the sampled artist Luther Vandross, and his 1982 song with Cheryl Lynn, If This World Were Mine.
If this world were mine, if this world were mine, I can't lie, I trust you, I love you, I won't waste your time.
There's kind of this overarching theme across most of the samples on GNX where they aren't anywhere close to being the most creative or unique that we've covered in this series. But despite their simpler nature, most of them are still insanely clean, with this one on Luther being no exception. Little interesting fact with this one too, but there's actually a track on Mustard's most recent album that also samples If This World Were Mine, albeit in a little bit of a weaker way. But I don't know, I just found that pretty interesting considering how close Kendrick and Mustard have been these last few months. Now, next up we've got Man at the Garden, easily the most underrated track on GNX for me. This one is so good. However, its sole interpolation is a bit of a weird one. So this isn't like officially confirmed or anything, but a lot of Kendrick fans have theorized that Kendrick actually interpolated One Mic by Nas on this track. And you can kind of hear it in the similarity of the two instrumentals.
All I need is one cup, one page, and one pen, one prayer. Tell God, forgive me for one sin, matter of fact.
Twice emotional stability, a sound body and tranquility. I deserve it all.
With this one though, it is kind of hard to declare whether it should be considered an homage or a fully fledged interpolation. And even if it is unconfirmed at this point, I felt like it still deserved at least a passing mention. Anyways, up next we've got Hey Now with count 'em 1, 2, 3 interpolations. First we have that weird spaceship line in the bridge, which is from the 2005 track by Southern hip-hop group D4L titled Scotty.
Starting to see spaceships on Bankhead. I roll with gang.
Starting to see spaceships on Rosecrans.
Then we've got the first of two interpolations from the featured artist Dodie Six, coming from Metro Boomin's 2018 track No More, specifically a line from 21 Savage's verse.
People don't know who they is, cause these bitches act like niggas and these niggas act like hoes.
Bitches acting like some niggas, niggas acting like some hoes. Hey, I jumped out that pen.
And finally, this is a pretty fun one. When Dodie Six says eeny, meeny, miny, mo, that is technically an interpolation from the sample-based traditional folk, released in 1815.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the...
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm trying to tag a nigga toe. I'm aggressive on the beat.
Look, I know it's stupid, but don't get mad at me, I just spit out whatever the Who sampled overlords tell me. Moving on to Reincarnated, and it's got probably the second most popular sample on GNX, aside from Luther. Its instrumental is pretty much directly ripped from the classic 1996 Tupac track, Made Neighbors, we'll call it.
Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be, I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me.
Pretty easily the peak of sample use on GNX for me. On a track where Kendrick raps from the perspective of influential black musicians of older generations, and with Kendrick being so inspired by Tupac in all of his music, it only makes sense for him to sample a Pac song to further play into this idea that he himself is Tupac's reincarnate, at least in a metaphorical sense. It's a very cool way to convey this idea and plays into the themes of the song perfectly, despite its simplicity. But now moving on to probably the biggest banger on the album with TV Off, and its samples come in a pretty close second for me. The first instrumental on the song is built from the 1968 Monk Higgins track, MacArthur Park.
It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really...
Now sure, this beat does have some very strong similarities to the beat on Not Like Us, but I mean, a great beat formula is still gonna result in great beats, even if they are a bit derivative. Still though, it's the second instrumental on the song that really wins me over, sampling the overture of the 1979 movie The Black Hole, composed by John Barry. Don't think it, don't say it, 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 don't think it, don't say it. On to the final sample here, and it's an interpolation from Biggie's 1997 track Kick in the Door.
Ain't no other kings in this rap thing, they siblings, nothing but my children. One shot, they disappearing.
Ain't no other king in this rap thing, they siblings. Nothing but my children. One shot, they disappearing. I'm in a city.
You gotta appreciate the many tributes to old school hip hop Kendrick put all over this record. It really makes the album feel like his love letter to the genre. Now up next is Peekaboo, with one sample and one interpolation to tackle. Dodger Blue, of course, having no listed samples. So Peekaboo's first sample, I believe, is also chopped up in the main instrumental, but it's much more noticeable in the song's intro, coming from the 1972 track by Little Beaver, Give Me a Helping Hand. This track's definitely on the weaker end of GNX for me, and definitely is my least favorite of the straight bangers across the track list, but this sample is pretty catchy and fun. Still doesn't top the hilarious chorus though, which interpolates the fittingly titled 2014 track Nothin' by Lecrae.
What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none.
What they talking about? They talking about nothing. What they talking about? They talking about nothing. What they talking about? They talking about nothing. But as for the final sample on GNX, we're gonna be closing it out with Kendrick's own Heart Part 6, with a single sample to go over. Kinda sucks we end this early, but the title track and Gloria have no listed samples that I could find, unfortunately. Lucky for us though, Heart Part 6 has a very strong sample to close us out, with the entire instrumental being made from the 1996 SWV track Use Your Heart.
Load up the Pro Tools and press 3. Studio filled with Jack in the Box and Pepsis. Niggas watching.
Not only is the borrowed chorus from the original insanely smooth, but I love hearing Kendrick rap over what's essentially production from the Neptunes. It's such a nice blend of lyrical rap and R&B. But with that, we've officially covered every single sample on Kendrick Lamar's GNX. And you know, it's actually pretty nice doing videos in this series that are a bit shorter instead of having to go over like 60 total samples. It's just a nice refresher is all. With that said though, I'm sure many of you are wondering when this Mad Villainy versus Food sample versus is gonna drop. Now currently the plan is for it to release on the 25th of January if everything goes right, but who knows, I may still be severely underestimating how long that absolute behemoth of a video is gonna take me. I mean, there's damn near 200 samples to go on across both projects. This thing is gonna be like 70 to 80 minutes long. But enough talking about future videos. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel to see new uploads from me every single Saturday and sometimes Wednesday unless they say otherwise in my community posts. Also, as always, if there are any samples that I did miss on GNX, make sure to let me know in the comments, or just tell me what your favorite sample on the record was. And finally, if you'd like to support the channel further, you can now become a member and receive early access to all of my videos, as well as a special shout out for me at the end of them, as you'll see on screen right now. So join up if you're interested, it really does help me out a lot. But yeah, that's about it. Happy belated New Year.